To this now, the African National Congress in Mpumalanga insists that all is in order for its elective conference next week. That's despite the disbanding of the executive committee in the province. President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to visit the province, tomorrow. To unpack this, I'm joined now by the political analyst, Professor Barry Hanyane. Prof, thank you for your time. I mean, to say all is well, I don't know how we can say all is well when you've just had a provincial executive committee that overstayed its welcome, elected in 2015 and stayed in place until it was dissolved in the last few days, replaced with a task team.
Thulasizwe, good afternoon to your viewers. Well, it tells us that somewhat the battle for the little souls, as it were, by little souls I refer to leadership core of provinces, especially within the governing party or majority party, the ANC, still rages on, especially in a province such as Mpumalanga that has experienced some kind of internal hegemony under the leadership of the now Deputy President, Mr. Didi Mabuza, who somewhat was instrumental in creating a hegemonous base for the ANC with little internal competition, if you want, or opposition for that matter. And this is as a result of that, partly, that this province finds itself in a situation where there is little movement, little creativity, little innovation, but more so little appetite when it comes to matters of following protocol as would be dictated by Luthuli House.
So what can President Cyril Ramaphosa do in the time that he'll be in Mpumalanga in the coming days ahead of its conference to try and get it back on the rails, in time for other processes that are expected to play out leading up all the way to the elective conference of the ANC at a national level in December this year?
Yeah. It's a matter of confidence, it's a matter of trust. Let's not forget, this is the very same province that got all of us, commentators, analysts, media, everyone, confused when it comes to who they actually support and what they stand for. If you go back to Nasrec in 2017, they advanced the argument that they stand for unity, only to arrive at a situation where Didi Mabuza was the face of that purported unity principle. So the question of trust will always come to mind here. And for Ramaphosa, I think the trick would be, who does he trust in that province? After having experienced this in Nasrec and a little bit of that post-Nasrec, obviously. On the other hand, what should he do? Not to be seen to want to be domineering at a time when we know there are so many factions in the ANC, but two most dominant, your RET as well as the Ramaphosa faction. Would he be using the party resources to crush opposition, either in a subtle way or through euphemism, or directly, which would unfortunately bring in some measure of confrontation? So in a sense, he has to roll the dice very carefully, not isolating or alienating certain members within the province, but at the same time being cautious of the fact that he himself stands for unity and renewal, and hoping that all factions, not only the two dominant, but all factions within the province are able to heed that call without necessarily being confrontational, either in a violent way, which we have seen in the past, or in a way that seeks to divide the province at large.
To what extent does the conference that the province is hoping to hold in the coming week or so, or 2 weeks or so, to what extent does it give that province the provincial structure of the ANC to emerge from the shadow of the strongman leader that it had for a period of time, David Mabuza, and how important is it that it should do that?
That's a tricky one, Thulasizwe. Remember, you have a current former MEC who is now in court allegedly for being involved in some criminal activity involving alleged attempted murder and so forth. So it speaks to this kind of politicking. It speaks to this kind of social political realities that says, to what extent are dirty politics being currently observed in that province, obviously facilitated by different factions. So that's one point. But the second point that we have to deal with is there enough time for all in sundry to campaign and make sure that they get their voices and messages across in a number of constituencies? Or it's a question of dealing with, as your question would allude, post big man mentality politics. Did it leave a vacuum? If it did, who filled that vacuum? If it hasn't been filled, who is strong enough to come up and basically revive that kind of politicking? Or are we likely to see alternative politics entering the space in this instance? The current leadership, as it has been dissolved, let's bring in the premier. Do they have what it takes basically to demonstrate leadership? Do they have power? Do they have influence over so many constituencies, including branches that exist, some that don't exist, in a manner of saying, yes, come any conference, they will be in the forefront to carry the baton?
And then in terms of the bigger picture of politics in this country, I know that ANC leaders will place it and say the ANC president is there on an ANC program, as has been happening, visiting a province of the ANC, nothing untoward about that. But you and I were not born yesterday. There is an elective conference that's coming up in December. To what extent does President Ramaphosa use the work that he has to do in terms of rebuilding structures, he and other leaders have to do in rebuilding structures, but also it wouldn't hurt him to have allies in whatever leadership that's elected after Mandla Ndlovu and Lindiwe Ntshalintshali have led the ANC for a period of time already. Someone from Nkangala, one of the leaders in Nkangala there, has already been saying that actually he'll be trying to convince his region to back Cyril Ramaphosa for a second term. So the stakes are high for the president, are they not?
Yeah. No, they are, but let's not forget the foot soldiers, eh? It's possible that the groundwork has been done for him, and going there is just to demonstrate power of some sort, that behind him lies a possible hope for the ANC. And of course, go back to the issue I've raised earlier on, they should trust him, they should have confidence in his leadership. So far, nobody has raised his or her hand except punting for names such as Madame Sisulu to say they want to challenge openly his precedence and his leadership. He can be criticized for being too consultative, for being slow in taking decisions, but on the back foot of all of these issues lies the fact that he may very well continue planning for his second term unopposed in this instance. But he can't take things easy. There's still a long way towards the conference. My understanding is that much of the work will be done by foot soldiers who want to be seen to be on his camp, so that they continue the tradition in the ANC, as you know, of saying if you bet for the right horse, you are likely to be rewarded once that horse wins power into positions of government. And obviously this brings with it more rewards, access to state resources, and so forth. So it's that political value chain that I'm afraid in this instance will have to be maintained. And of course, Ramaphosa will play his game as and when conditions and circumstances on the ground allow that.
Lastly, Prof, do these efforts, these many moving parts that we are seeing, the efforts of former President Thabo Mbeki, the efforts now to visit regions, provinces by President Ramaphosa and other leaders of the ANC, forming a task team to lead the party's response to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry report, do they represent a last chance saloon kind of situation for the ANC, in that get it right this time around, or that's it, kaput?
That's it. You're right, Thulasizwe. This is it. Remember, Judgment Day is around the corner. 2024 is around the corner. With the looming electoral reforms, that may be a game changer. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, will this game changer be an advantage to the majority party, or will it seal further problems for the party, throwing it obviously towards the doldrums, which after investing so much energy, they might feel that they don't deserve this. Already, some of their supporters have punished them 1st November last year during the local government elections. Choosing not to vote became a punishment of a kind. Now we know for a fact. And the question then lies, what renewal strategies overall will the ANC package for itself going forward? We'll have to watch and see this one. At this moment, it's piecemeal exercises, which, if not tied together nicely, does not speak to issues of political strategy, does not speak to the issue of a concerted effort towards renewal and, of course, maintaining a strong party. I still maintain, without modernizing the party, I think the party is looking at the barrel of ABC. We might not see them surviving the next 15 to 20 years.
All right, sobering realities there for the ANC leadership and membership to really consider what's at stake in this situation. Professor Barry Hanyane, a political analyst from the Northwest University, weighing in on the upcoming visit by President Cyril Ramaphosa in his capacity as leader of the ANC to the province of Mpumalanga, one of the many fixed jobs that have to be done by the ANC leadership.